Have you ever had that feeling? Like you're just constantly swimming against this tide of notifications, emails, demands hitting you all at once. Almost like your brain's a web browser with, I don't know, 50 tabs open, and they're all kind of yelling for attention. If that sounds familiar, maybe painfully familiar, trust me, you are definitely not alone. I mean, think about it. The average knowledge worker, the stats say they're checking email roughly every 11 minutes and switching between different apps like over 1,100 times a day.
Wow. 1,100 times.
Yeah, it's this just relentless stream of digital distraction. And honestly, it leaves so many of us feeling, perpetually overwhelmed, always juggling, never really getting into that focus zone. So, okay, let's unpack this a bit. Here's what I find really interesting. What if the answer isn't trying harder to multitask, juggle faster? What if it's actually the complete opposite? Today, we're doing a deep dive into Cal Newport's idea of deep work. It's this pretty revolutionary, almost counterintuitive way to push back against all that constant distraction.
Right. And Newport, he has a very precise definition for it. He calls deep work professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. And critically, he adds, these efforts create new value, improve your skill, and are hard to replicate.
Okay, so distraction-free, pushing your limits, creating real value.
Exactly. You can almost think of it like cognitive exercise for your brain, like a really intense workout at the gym. Just like lifting weights builds muscle, deep work builds your mental capacity for that sustained high-level thinking. It's the huge difference between, say, mindlessly scrolling through your social media feed versus carefully designing a complex piece of software, or, skimming a few articles versus writing a really groundbreaking research paper. It's about building that mental muscle.
Gotcha. So our mission for this deep dive is, well, pretty clear. We want to break down exactly what deep work is, really explore why it's becoming such a crucial asset, especially now, and maybe most importantly, figure out how you can actually start integrating it into your life to, well, not just survive, but actually thrive in this noisy world. Because this isn't just about ticking boxes or looking busy, right? It's about finding ways to create those real breakthrough innovations, to genuinely move the needle. Okay, so if deep work is this amazing superpower, what's the flip side? What's its kryptonite? Newport calls it shallow work.
That's right, shallow work.
How does he define that?
Well, he describes these as tasks that are more logistical. They're often done while you're distracted. They typically don't create much new value. And honestly, they're pretty easy for someone else to replicate.
Right. Like the routine emails, maybe some admin tasks, those endless status meetings we all seem to end up in.
Exactly. And the sheer scale of this shallow work epidemic in today's workplace is, well, it's kind of staggering when you look at the numbers. Some studies suggest the average knowledge worker spends only about 30% of their time on their main job duties. 30%.
Only 30. Wow.
Yeah. And we get interrupted on average every 11 minutes or so. And here's the kicker. It takes about 23 minutes to fully get your focus back after each interruption.
23 minutes every time.
Every single time. And email alone, some estimates say that eats up nearly 28% of the typical work week.
Wow.
And then meetings, the average is something like 62 meetings a month.
Oh, my goodness.
What's fascinating here, and actually quite worrying, is that this isn't just about lost time or inefficiency. Every single time we switch tasks, our brain pays this cognitive cost, what researchers call the switching penalty.
The switching penalty.
Yeah. And by constantly switching, we're essentially training our brains to crave distraction. We're literally wiring ourselves to lose that ability to concentrate deeply over time.
So it's like we're practicing being distracted.
In a way, yes, it's a fundamental rewiring.
That switching penalty thing? That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I mean, checking email every 11 minutes, that feels painfully accurate for me sometimes. It really is like my brain is that browser with 50 tabs open. And half of them are probably cat videos, let's be honest. It's just exhausting.
Right.
So, okay, the problem of shallow work seems pretty clear. How does deep work actually, fight back against that?
Yeah.
Newport's core idea, his central thesis, is really provocative.
Yeah.
He argues that in today's economy, two things are becoming incredibly valuable: the ability to master hard things quickly and the ability to produce work at a really elite level, like top quality output.
Key skills?
And here's the crucial part. He says both of those skills depend entirely on your ability to do deep work.
Completely.
And you see this play out, right? It's not just theory. You think of writers like J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Didn't she famously rent a hotel room?
Yeah, exactly. To finish Harry Potter away from all the day-to-day distractions.
Right. Or you hear about skilled programmers who can produce more truly valuable code in just a few focused, maybe 4-hour blocks, then their colleagues might turn out in, like, entire scattered days.
Absolutely. The intensity of focus matters hugely.
And researchers making breakthroughs during those long stretches of just uninterrupted thinking. Or even entrepreneurs, building whole companies during these focused deep work sessions that other people might just fritter away in, well, endless meetings and emails.
Here's where the real value gets created.
So if all that's true, it really does sound like deep work isn't just some, I don't know, clever productivity hack. It really is like a superpower. What are the main advantages it gives you?
Yeah, superpower isn't really an exaggeration here. Newport breaks it down into 3 really crucial advantages. First, there's rapid skill acquisition. Deep work lets you focus so intensely on a specific skill that you learn it much, much faster. You achieve real mastery. While others might be kind of scattering their attention, learning lots of things halfway, deep workers really gain a command that becomes incredibly valuable.
Okay, so faster learning, deeper skills. What else?
Second, it drives peak performance output. Think about that formula Newport uses. High quality work produced. Time spent multiplied by intensity of focus.
Time's intensity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that intensely focused time, it doesn't just produce more work, it produces exponentially better work. The quality skyrockets.
Makes sense. Quality over just quantity.
Exactly. And the third advantage is about satisfaction and meaning. This ties into what psychologists call the flow state.
I flow.
That feeling of being completely absorbed in what you're doing, where time just seems to disappear, you feel really alive and engaged.
Definitely felt that before. It's rare, but amazing.
It is. And it's the total opposite of how shadow work often leaves us feeling, which is usually drained, fragmented, maybe even a bit unfulfilled. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, you can see how deep work leads not just to better results, but genuinely greater job satisfaction. And that naturally fuels career advancement.
So it feels better and gets better results.
Pretty much. And fascinatingly, this isn't just philosophy or, anecdotes. There's actual neuroscience research now that's validating a lot of Newport's ideas.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, for one, when we engage in deep focus, our brains produce more myelin.
Myelin. Okay, remind me.
It's this fatty sheath that wraps around our neural pathways.
Yeah.
Think of it like insulation on a wire. It makes the signals travel faster and more efficiently.
Ah, right. So deep work actually speeds up your brain's processing for that task.
Essentially, yes. It makes those specific circuits work better. Deep work also strengthens the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain responsible for, like, executive function, planning, complex problem solving, all the higher level stuff.
The CEO of the brain.
Kinda, yeah. And it also helps quiet down the default mode network. That's the part of your brain that's active when your mind is just wandering, daydreaming.
Okay, so more focus, less wandering.
Exactly. But conversely, that constant task switching we talked about, it does the opposite. It literally rewires our brains for distraction. It makes deep focus harder and harder to achieve over time.
So we're fighting our own biology if we keep switching tasks all the time.
We're actively training our brains to be bad at concentrating.
Okay, wow. So if our brains are kind of wired to wander, or we've trained them that way, and deep work is the antidote, how do we actually do it? It sounds great, but, putting it into practice seems like the hard part. Where do you even start?
That's the key question, isn't it? And Newport stresses there isn't just one single magic formula. He actually outlines 4 different philosophies for integrating deep work, recognizing that different approaches are going to work for different people, different jobs, different lifestyles.
Okay, so it's not one size fits all. What are these different paths or styles?
Right. So first, there's what he calls the monastic approach. This is pretty extreme. It involves basically eliminating almost all shallow work. Think of like a writer who disappears for months to just write their novel, almost like going into a monastery, hence the name.
Okay, probably not practical for most of us listening.
Probably not. Then there's the bimodal philosophy. This is about clearly dividing your time. So maybe you dedicate, say, half the year or certain full days entirely to deep work. And then the other times you're more available for the shallow stuff. You partition your time very strictly.
Interesting. Like deep work seasons.
Kind of. Then, probably the most practical for many people is the rhythmic philosophy. This is all about building a regular habit, a consistent rhythm. Same time, maybe the same place, every single day. You make deep work a recurring, predictable part of your schedule.
Like scheduling a workout.
Exactly like that. And finally, there's the journalistic approach. This is for the pros, maybe. It's about being able to switch into deep work mode almost instantly whenever a pocket of free time appears, like a journalist on a deadline who just dives in. It
Well,
requires a lot of practice, though. Definitely not the place to start for most beginners.
right, you need that focus muscle built up already.
You do. And building on those sort of overarching philosophies, Newport gives 4 very practical rules. Think of them as a framework for actually cultivating this skill.
Okay, let's hear them. Rules sound actionable.
Rule 1, work deeply. This sounds obvious, but it means actively designing your environment and your schedule for focus, setting clear boundaries, maybe creating rituals to start your sessions, using the right tools like turning off notifications, and really pushing your cognitive limits while you're in that state.
So be intentional about it.
Very intentional. Rule 2, embrace boredom. This one's tough for a lot of us.
Oh.
Yeah. Resist that constant urge for mental stimulation. Don't immediately grab your phone every time you have a spare second or are waiting in line. Practice just being. Practice concentrating even during downtime. Let your mind be bored sometimes. It actually helps rebuild your focus ability.
Interesting. So don't fill every micro moment with distraction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Rule 3, quit social media. Or, at the very least, drastically limit it and be extremely intentional about its use.
Ooh, controversial.
Maybe. But Newport argues, pretty convincingly, that these platforms are engineered to be addictive and fragment our attention. He suggests avoiding the any benefit justification, oh, I use it for this one little thing. That's not good enough.
Right.
Instead, he advocates for the craftsman approach.
Mm-hmm.
Only use a tool if its positive impact on your core professional goals substantially outweighs the negatives, like distraction.
Okay, be ruthless about the value proposition.
Precisely. And finally, rule 4, drain the shallows. This means actively fighting back against all that shallow work. Minimize it in your schedule. Try batching similar shallow tasks together, like answering all your non-urgent emails in one specific block. And critically, learn to say no to non-essential meetings, requests, and commitments that just pull you away from the deep, valuable stuff.
Learning to say no, that's a skill in itself.
It really is a crucial one for protecting deep work time.
Okay, these rules make sense. Now, Newport also talks about the bigger picture, right? The sort of economic reality we're in. He has this idea about the economy kind of splitting.
Yeah, he makes a really compelling argument there. He believes the economy is increasingly bifurcating, splitting into roughly 2 main groups of valuable workers. First, those who can work effectively with intelligent machines using technology to amplify their own cognitive abilities.
Okay, leveraging AI and tech.
Right. And second, those who can work creatively producing high-quality, original output that simply can't be automated, at least not easily. The superstars in their field, essentially.
The innovators, the creators.
Exactly. And the key point he makes is that both of these valuable groups absolutely require deep work skills to succeed. So as AI and automation handle more of the routine, shallow tasks, the premium placed on deep, focused human thinking, it just keeps going up.
So deep work becomes even more critical in the age of AI, not less.
That's his argument, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. But this probably brings up some resistance, right? Some common myths or pushback people have.
Oh, definitely. And it's worth tackling those directly. Myth number 1 you always hear is, I just don't have time for deep work.
Right. My schedule's already packed.
Exactly. But the reality, Newport points out, is that shallow work tends to expand to fill whatever time you give it. Parkinson's law, right? Whereas deep work creates disproportionate value. So the counter-argument is you really can't afford not to make time for it because it's where your biggest wins will come from.
Okay, so reframe it. You don't have time not to. What's another myth?
Myth number 2. Deep work is only for, academics or writers or programmers. It doesn't apply to my job.
Yeah, I'm a manager or I'm in sales.
Right. But what's actually happening is that almost every knowledge worker role benefits immensely from periods of deep focus. Whether you're an accountant analyzing complex financials, a developer architecting a system, or even a manager doing strategic planning, that focused, high-quality thinking is crucial across the board.
So it's pretty universal in the knowledge economy.
He argues it is. And myth number 3. But I need to be available. Collaboration is key. I can't just disappear.
The always-on expectation.
Exactly. And this raises an important question, really challenges our assumptions about what availability truly means and requires. The truth is, being strategically unavailable for periods of deep work often makes you more valuable when you do collaborate. Because you're bringing better developed ideas, more thoughtful solutions, higher quality insights to the table, your contribution is just better.
So planned unavailability actually boosts your collaborative value. That's counterintuitive, but makes sense.
It does when you think about the quality of input.
Okay, those are really important myths to bust. So for someone listening right now, maybe they're convinced they want to try this. What are some really concrete, actionable steps they could take, like today or this week, to start building their own deep work practice? It's probably not about flipping a switch overnight, right?
Absolutely not. It's definitely about building a habit like any other skill.
So start small.
Exactly. Start really small. Aim for maybe just 25 or 30-minute sessions of focused work initially. Then, as your concentration muscle gets stronger, you can gradually increase the duration. Don't try for 4 hours on day one.
Okay, build up gradually. What else?
Create rituals. Find a consistent time, maybe first thing in the morning. Find a consistent place, even if it's just a specific chair. Have a little preparation routine. Maybe grab your coffee. Close unnecessary tabs. Tell your family or colleagues you're going dark for a bit. These rituals signal to your brain, okay, it's focus time now.
Train your brain with cues.
Yes, and eliminate distractions ruthlessly during that time. Phone, ideally in another room, or at least off or silent. Use website blockers if you need to. Close your email client. Shut the door. Whatever it takes.
Create that distraction-free bubble.
You have to. Also, track your progress.
Yeah.
It helps. Keep a simple log. Maybe just note down how many hours or Pomodoro sessions you managed each day, and maybe even make a note of what you accomplished, the quality of the output. Seeing progress is motivating.
Right, measure what matters.
And finally, probably the most important, protect your practice. Treat your scheduled deep work time as seriously as you treat an important meeting with your boss or a key client. Don't let shallow stuff intrude. Make it sacred, non-negotiable. It's a long-term investment in your most valuable skill.
Protect the time. I like that. So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway here? If people embrace this, what's the payoff? It sounds like the reality is, well, maybe everyone else is getting increasingly frazzled, drowning in that shallow work. Developing these deep work skills gives you this almost unfair advantage.
It really does.
You'll likely produce higher quality work, probably in less total time, if you count the focus factor. You'll learn valuable skills faster than your peers. You'll probably experience more job satisfaction, which we talked about, maybe leading to faster career advancement. And you'll build this reputation for being someone who delivers reliable, excellent, thoughtful work.
Absolutely. And to quote Newport directly on this, he says, "The deep life is not just economically lucrative, but also a life well lived."
A life well lived.
Yeah. It's not just about productivity hacks or getting more done. It's really a broader philosophy for finding meaning and genuinely thriving in our modern knowledge economy. In a world that seems increasingly optimized for distraction, your ability to cultivate and protect deep focus, that becomes your most potent, valuable asset.
So think about everyone listening. What does this all mean for you? I guess the question really isn't whether you can afford to find the time to develop deep work skills. Looking at where things are heading, the real question is, can you afford not to?
That's the crux of it.
So here's a challenge, maybe. Pick one important project, something that really matters, right now. Sometime today or tomorrow, try it. Turn off your phone. Close your email tab. For just 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And just see. Discover what you're actually capable of when you give yourself the space to work deeply. And never forget Cal Newport's core message here. Deep work is your superpower.